hate how it always switches us.
Yeah.
Put you up first. It should put you to the side.
Yes.
Welcome, everybody. We are live, and it is July.
Yes. And I'm in Europe right now, where it has been really hot. And so I know I look like I'm hot, and it's because
You
I
look
really
like you're
am
glowing. You're
glowing.
You're just
Let's call it
glowing.
that.
That's all.
Let's call
I've
it
got,
glowing.
Meanwhile, it's like 8 a.m. So it's the one time like the sun perfectly hits me. So I got to stay leaning back.
Oh, dear.
We just
Yeah.
got issues. We got issues.
Yeah, we got it. Well, that's good because our topic is conflict. So.
Well, actually, we should probably technically
let's introduce ourselves. Yeah.
My name is Tricia Broderick. I'm with Ignite Insight and Innovation.
I'm Diana Larsen, and I'm with DianaLarsen.com and ImpactfulOrganizations.com.
Love it. Yeah. And we co-wrote Lead Without Blame, which has now been out for a couple of years. And it just always makes me super happy every time. I was just at a conference and somebody was like, oh my gosh, I just like, can I follow up and ask you questions? It just makes me happy. I think the happiest is when I see somebody's book and they have like Post-it notes or like corners, and it just makes my heart happy that like value, right? Like that was the goal, was just trying to give people help and value. But we do this kind of selfishly.
Yeah, I wonder if people realize that we actually had that conversation, that we wanted to write a useful book. Right.
Well, I mean, does anybody really write a book trying not to be useful?
Well, I mean, like daily basis useful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. Sorry, I keep interrupting you.
You're fine. I love it. And so we come together just to continue to, interact because we miss each other, but also to just kind of dig into more topics, different areas. So if you have a topic or things you want us to talk about, let us know. And whatnot. But I'm excited because in the next like 4 weeks, we'll actually get to see each other in person. I'm very, very, I mean, I'm a little jealous that you're in Europe right now. I wish I was in Europe right now. But I am very excited that we'll get to see each other at the end of this month. So that will be nice.
Well, you got to come to Amsterdam in May and I didn't. So, and Budapest.
Yeah.
So
and Budapest was
I missed out on that.
Yeah. I ate all the fried dough, and I have no sugar. At one point, one of the people I was with were like, "Where are you at?" I'm like, "Eating fried dough."
Yes, because it's delicious.
I mean, it's fantastic. It's not. That's not what it's called there, but Langos, I think is what it's called. But I don't care. It's fried dough. It's amazing. So, what is today's topic? Do you want to highlight a little bit about our topic for today?
Yeah, we thought we would talk this time. We're kind of working through the the team resilience factors now that we wrote about in the book. And I think this month we're going to take a look at conflict and how we can transform conflict, how we can make it work well for our teams, and how we can take the sting out of it a little bit when we need to. Yeah.
And we're going to speak specifically about kind of team conflict in general. And again, this is just a live that's like 15 minutes, people. We're not digging into everything with everything.
Right.
But I thought also that this was a good topic right now because I'm just on edge more right now. And so it makes it a little bit easier for conflict. Like you said, what, right? Like we, in our book, we actually built on Lisa Adkins' motto, who built on, I'm blanking on the original source, but it's kind of building on the escalation in terms of different levels and what could be healthy conflict versus really drama and destructive kinds of stuff. And I'm finding myself like instantly going, like escalating things just because I'm on edge too right now. So I thought this was avec a good selfish topic for myself to kind of keep myself in line with what my true value and true intent is, even though it is hard. And so I think That's kind of where I wanted to start a little bit, was acknowledging two parts. One, conflict is not the same thing as drama. Conflict is not the same thing as destructive. And I think a lot of times people just mash them all together and then try and avoid it. But we can't say things like wisdom of the crowd is so powerful, or the differences that we bring to the table is what helps us innovate, and not expect conflict. Like, differences are good. It's just how we approach that differences helps us to determine if it's conflict or destructive, right? And drama land. And so, like, that's one of those things that I always like. I love conflict, but I hate drama. And I almost reinforce that messaging to myself so I don't think negatively of conflict. It's like, oh, cool. It's just a problem to solve. And holding on to that kind of lens and that perspective with it.
Yeah. And, and done well, conflict is not adversarial. It's not an adversarial argument. It's sharing our differences and point of view. But I like to think of it as, oops, I got to go this way. Us against the problem. That's where the real conflict lies. But we may have differences in how to approach it. But still, it's us against the problem, and it can manifest as conflict when it really isn't. If we have made those commitments to our teammates that we want everybody's well-being, and we all know we want to do a worthwhile job for our customers, if we can get to that agreement, then our differences of approach, or I found this great new tool, but you'd like to stick with the one we've already got, or those kinds of conversations, we're all striving for the same outcome. We all want to deliver a really good product. And so we can interact through those issues and get to even a better place than either of us imagined. So,
well, and I like even thinking about it as not as issues sometimes, because it's my indicator that my team is not in group think. If we're actually willing to highlight the differences, if we're willing to highlight the disagreements, if we're willing to highlight different perspectives and ideas, because it's really easy to just defer to the one person on the team, or it's really easy to just kind of go along with the flow because you don't want to ruffle any feathers and stuff. And so for me, those discussions, those disagreements, even those variances that are actually healthy indicators for me as a leader that my team is actually engaging and not group thinking, not deferring to power dynamics, but actually engaging and being comfortable and safe to express, right? Like, that's the other dynamic, is that so many times you're like, well, why didn't you say anything? Well, I didn't think I could. Like, no. And so for me, I actually see the absence of conflict as a indicator that something's unhealthy in my team.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I was just, the last couple of weeks, I've been at Retrospective Facilitators Gathering, and I've been at the Agile Coach Camp Germany version of that. There's lots of Agile Coach Camps around, but this was the one that was the first one in Europe, and is focused primarily on Germany. And I found I was introduced to a tool, the same tool in both places, that I thought was really terrific. And in terms of helping teams prepare to be able to address conflicts that come up, or those kinds of things. And it's called the Tolerance Deck. And the two people Alexander, whose last name begins with K, and who I'm not able to say correctly right now, and was the person who first created it. And then Marjoka Flanken, who I also met, had extended it. And it's called the Tolerance Deck. And what it does is gives a team practice in identifying where their differences might be in terms of attitudes about different things that, like, often happen on a team. it's the scale of, oh, I thought that was great, till, I'm fine with that. And then the acceptance, and then there's a whole range of tolerance, and then there's the absolutely not. No way would I give that air in the room, right? And there was a way to do it with cards and kind of a tolerance poker kind of way, and there was another way to do it with posters where people actually move around and stand by it if they are in real life together. And I guess they've also done it in a Miro kind of version. But it was really fascinating because the first question was, somebody on your team has come late to a really important meeting. Where do you stand about that? And then it generates this really, some people are like, well, I'm fine. I'm sure they meant well. Well, other people are like, if you're going to be late, you should say something. And then other people are like, if they've been late 6 times, then we've got a problem. But having that conversation was so interesting, even though we were a group of people doing it who weren't necessarily on the same team. I could just imagine how fruitful that would be, like as part of a liftoff or part of a retrospective where something has happened, or, any number of times when actually practicing, how do we think about things that could be conflict topics?
Well,
Yeah.
And it's potential topics, that's those underlying conflicts that
Right.
escalate, right? Because you don't have the conversation about the person being late. You just let it go. You don't, but then by the 3rd time, you're like, I am at, like, I want you,
right.
winners or losers, as we were like, and I will I believe.
Right.
And so that's interesting.
It was a really cool tool. I had never seen it before. Maybe some of the people who join us on these calls will have seen it, but I thought it was just a really terrific thing to share, because I could imagine very good conversations coming out of that.
So we
and
have
preparation for
if there's a link to that deck. Do you know, or
I could write to me and I can give you the link. I just can't remember exactly how to spell.
Or we'll come back also online in the comments afterwards when we can maybe post to.
I can put it on the comments
and things like
here.
that for you.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
But that's awesome. I love it. I love it.
There is a link to it. Yeah.
Well, what's it? So that's one. I like it because that's proactive. Like, now I don't know if I would.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would use that tool in the heat of a moment of one.
No. This is a prep. This is a preparation.
This is a proactive technique, right?
Yeah. Right.
And so in the heat of a moment, when you do feel like it's escalating, there's a couple things that I'll do is like taking the breath, right? Taking a break, pause, walking, moving around a little bit, the adrenaline, getting oxygen to your brain, right? With those things.
Mm-hmm.
We also mentioned this already. It's remembering and coming back to what's our shared goal. Like, even if at the end of the day, we have vastly different things, we have some kind of shared goal because we're on that team together. And what does that mean? And coming back to that problem to solve.
Right.
But another one is in the moment, like I try to, and I'm, I try is the key word here. I'm not always great about this, myself included, right? Is to remember that how somebody's showing up in that moment is to be careful about judging it. And so, like, I'm very loud. Like, I'm scary in general. I get it. I've been told it my whole life. I'm tall. I'm loud. I'm extroverted, right? Like, somehow that equates to scary. I've accepted it at this point. But actually, when you should be afraid of me is when I stop talking. Because when I've stopped talking is when, like, I can't trust anything from here to here. Like, and I'm done. Like I do have a filter, but it is like very little. And when it kicks into that degree, that means I'm about to blow. Right. And yet, like, I think about how many times I have been misunderstood because I'm passionately engaged. I'm like, and I get excited and I like my hands start moving and I'm like, and to somebody else that can be like, oh, she's like too, like she needs to calm down. And then you say the words calm down. And now I'm like to 20 miles. And so like, I really try in the moment to go, I don't know why this is such a passion topic for that person, and get curious about that. Right. Or really kind of take that bias, that judgment out of, they're engaging. I don't actually like, unless it's personal attacks or yelling in my face, right? Like there's certain behaviors, obviously, but in general, like I just care. I focus on the engagement over the how you're engaging, with exceptions to that, right? Like, and I understand that. Oh, I get the someone else understands the I'm too tall part. Yeah, like there's something about tallness that comes with intimidation dynamic. I don't know.
I think Dennis has a whole other way of being intimidating.
He always makes
it has to. I think it has to do with sometimes intensity.
Ooh. Yeah. Well, but that's part of it. Like that's another word I can relate to as well. Is like I am passionately committed and intense and involved in anything I do. And for some, that's like stand up. And so I love this tolerance thing. I'm actually coming back to it because a little bit's like, I now just tell people, this is how I show up, right? Like this is me.
Right.
And that seems to help people understand that, right? What in the moment, what's something you might do to help you with de-escalating conflict a little bit?
Well, I also tend to get calm when things are starting to blow up. I get really calm. And whereas in the moment, if things are kind of going along, I might be very spontaneous in the things I say and do and so on. If I feel like there's conflict on the horizon, I slow down. And I wish I could say that I've really practiced it or whatever, but it's just kind of a natural response for me. I slow down and I'm like, okay, what are we really dealing with here? And I get curious. I try to be, it's like, what's behind this expression that we are each creating, or that two other people might be creating? Why, what's going on in this interaction, and what might be the thing for this person and what might be the thing for that person? And like if, when Esther and I years and years ago did the Secrets of Agile Teamwork workshops, we would talk about how about we think of at least 3 other reasons this person might be reacting the way they are that would make sense to us. Because a lot of times we're in conflict because what they're saying or doing just on the face of it doesn't make sense. And so we get all up, but if they were talking to a Martian, would that make it? I mean, it could be really fantastic things, but it also just that exercise of in what world, in what universe would this behavior make sense? And then that's unlikely to be actually the source of the behavior, but I also know that. But I have at least sort of moved away from being terribly judging or terribly about what's in front of me. And that seems to help me a lot.
Yeah, your ability to like create, it's so impressive. Like you're just this like, you create the space. You hold the space, and it is hard to articulate how, but you feel it, right? And it's this accepting and inviting dynamic that you have with it in terms of let's hear it. Let's go into. Oh, Tony Richards actually gave us.
Thank you, Tony. Yay!
Good job, Tony. But it is this inviting, and it does go back to what I was highlighting. It's like I try not to show up with judgment. I am not as patient as you are by any form or fashion in that inviting space with it. But it is impressive with that because it really does calm everybody else down. It role models that, right? Like, and so you then mirror that to everybody else, and then are like, okay, Diana doesn't think we're crazy. Let's go.
Like, right.
Let's go. We can do this. And so it's a fascinating dynamic with it. There's a lot of different things that are out there. And understand, like, here in teams, like, don't pick the hardest conflict to start either to tackle with it, right? Like, pick your battles in terms of which conflict you really want to try and dig into, which one you want to open the space for. Like, don't pick the elephant if your team isn't accustomed to having these discussions, right? Like, that's not, we're going to have our retro and pick the hardest elephant in the room right off the bat and go and then talk to everybody. It's like, you're setting yourself up for that as a leader and backsliding the team and their safety with things. So I really do think the last part from my suggestions in this live is think momentum when it comes to conflict. Like, the more that I got comfortable in realizing that it wasn't going to make somebody hate me if I had told the truth, or I expressed, my opinions, and that people weren't going to think I'm silly or whatever, or stupid, or what, like all the fears that I had that made me want to engage in conflict, but not, right? And the more that I did in small doses, the more that I realized, oh, those are narratives, those are fears that are often not true or not realized. And the more that I started to experience that, the less scarier it got. And so that was huge for me. And in terms of rewriting that narrative.
Yeah. And I think, back to what you said in the very beginning of this little talk, is conflict is normal. Conflict is natural. It's particularly normal in a team where you're obviously going to have different people with different points of view on something. I mean, you may not be having conflict all the time, but it's going to come up. It is part of being human. Our ideas are going to clash, but if we've done the work of building trust and showing our commitment to each other and to the work that we're involved in, and if we've used that trust and that commitment to, understand each other, have working agreements, putting those things in place that make it easier. How we make decisions. We already know how we make this kind of decision, and we know we make that kind of decision differently. And those kinds of things, you can really get ahead of the conflicts. And the other thing
or keep it healthy. About, I mean, not even ahead. It's still not going to avoid it. It's just, but keep it healthy.
Well, and the other thing we talk about in the book a lot is handle conflict, the potential for conflict when it's small, and that means giving and getting feedback, and knowing how to accept feedback, how to seek it, how to give it in a healthy way. Just be able to have those conversations and know that sometimes it's going to feel icky, it's going to be hard, but we get through it. And getting through it makes us stronger. I think that's huge.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm going to end us on the feedback that Tony gave me with I'm not.
Yeah, you're not scary.
You're lying, Tony, but that's fine. I'll take it. Diana, where can people find you in the next couple of months?
On Monday and Tuesday, I'm going to be at the Agile World Conference in Munich. Just hanging out there. I'm not giving a talk or anything. I'm just going because it'll be fun. And then I'm going to be at the Socrates Conference in Soltau, Germany, the week after next. And then I come to Denver and I attend Mile High Agile and the Agile 2025 conference. And I think I'm going to go, I kind of want to go to the Reimagining Agile thing that's happening, but I think I'm going to go to the coach camp, the worldwide coach camp. And then in September, I'm coming back to Europe for a meetup in Leipzig and Agile Prague. So I've got lots on my dance card coming up.
Nice. Yes, and that's where we're going to see each other. It's Mile High Agile. You can still get tickets for that. That will be on the Sunday before, leading into the Agile conference. So check that out if you're coming in. Normally, Women in Agile is that day, but they were not doing it this year. So we're Agile Denver because we're local. We were doing it. And then I will be at Agile 2025. I'm keynoting on Tuesday. I got to tell you. And I don't even know if I should admit this or whatever in general. I don't get very nervous speaking in general now. Like I just don't get nervous. I'm nervous. I am nervous, and I want to just I want to do a good job and make people proud and honor it. Like, so I'm actually like, this is going to be a long month waiting.
Yes.
I'm already like, I can feel it. I'm wringing my hands. I'm already feeling it. So. I'm excited. I am actually, I'm nervous.
It was one of the most daunting keynotes I ever gave. I mean, I know that feeling. I mean, it's to your peeps, and you want to do a good job for them. Yeah. I applaud that they chose you. That's great.
Thank you. It's so we'll go with it. But and then I will be at Star West as well in September, and looks like Star Canada as well this year. So I'm actually going to do the trifecta with TechWell this year. And I'm still waiting. I might be in Poland. I'm still waiting to hear back from somebody with those things. So I'm kind of hoping, crossing my fingers with it. But those are the conferences. I do have a Leading Amazing Teams course coming up in August, and then a impactful training and speaking public course. Those I think are my only two publics that are out there right now.
Cool.
And so those are available on Ignite site.
All right. So, and what I'm going to be doing next month for LinkedIn Live? Are we going to be meeting on August 11th?
Yes. When are we meeting? Sorry. I was like, "Ooh, are you giving an announcement that I'm not aware of?" No, you're prompting me, and I'm too slow to get it. Is what's just happened there. That's fantastic. August 11th. August 11th is the next live that we'll be talking about and doing. Although we might do a little impromptu one while we're together at Agile.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Thanks everybody for participating and engaging. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you next time.